Hi Joanne, here's my presentation. I tried using Zoom and I recorded it 3 or 4 different times and it wouldn't record, or the one time I recorded it didn't have the screen, and I'm getting really frustrated with this. So I hope it's okay that I'm just going to take a video of me doing a PowerPoint presentation. So first, for traceability, it's a very important method for business analysis. It helps to verify that requirements are linked to the deliverables. It helps with problem solving. It saves the analyst time and money and helps to keep the project within the scope. An example would be, for traceability, the first launch would have a standard lunch available. The second lunch, as we move, that should actually say downstream, that we're able to customize the lunch. So if there's a problem, we can trace it back to the previous requirement. Although traceability is a very useful tool, it does have some limitations. First off, the setup is time and very labor intensive. It takes a lot of energy to set up traceability, and even though it's established, it may not always be accurate. It also requires clear and established rules, and if it's done without proper collaboration amongst all those involved, it can be very confusing. If done manually, there's a lot of room for error, especially if there's a lot of manual data being entered. An example of a non-functional requirement is the product user-friendly? Well, when you have requirements such as that, it can be very difficult to trace, so that's another limitation of the traceability for non-functional requirements. How are requirements traced? Linking functional requirements to the user requirement is how that is done. An example would be, for the user requirement, if an order is placed for delivery and they want to request a specific delivery location, this can be traced upstream by reviewing the original functional requirement of placing a cafeteria order for delivery. Another example would be if the employee wants to pay with a credit or debit card. This can be traced upstream to a previous user requirement of payment and payroll deduction. So if there's any issues, they can look back to see what happened along those problems. An example of traceability to move downstream, or also known as forward traceability, would be that the employees will eventually be able to pay via a prepay account that they've set up. So if there's an issue with that, they can look back to the previous payment method of credit or debit card and so forth. Traceability is great because it can help to quickly assess impact of suggested change. And when an analyst is trying to make changes, they really have to know the impact of those changes before they make the change. It's very important to understand how the requirements link together. And if you do that, you can avoid a lot of rework and additional research. There's nothing more horrible than wasting time off of research you've already done. And by establishing good traceability, you can avoid doing that. An example would be if the ability to request condiments. So the analyst can determine if by adding this, the effects it'll have on other areas. Another example would be to request a specific delivery time and place. So if all of a sudden that you're placing an order, is it going to affect if some people place a specific delivery time versus others who don't care that their sandwich isn't getting delivered at noon? The analyst has to understand, will the system be affected, and, the length of which it will be. So I made a simple traceability matrix. Sorry if it's hard to see. So for the user requirement I have would be request exact location for delivery. To move upstream from that, it would be that the system allow for placing an order for delivery, and the functional requirement would be that we can place a cafeteria order. So that would be the original one. So for like one of the more advanced user requirements, we would pay with a prepay account. The requirement prior to that would have been that we were able to pay with a debit or credit card, and before that it would have been with the pay with the payroll deduction. Another user requirement would be to request condiments. If that was allowed, the functional requirement before that would have been customizable meals, and prior to that would have been standard meals were available. Ordering meals on different mobile applications. The functional requirement before that would have been the ability to order on iOS or Android systems, and prior to that, the original functional requirement would have been to order via the internet and website. And then we also have the customizable menu, moves to the create menu, and the first option was to view the menu. Offer discounts on food items. There would be advertisements on merchandise reaching expiration overstocked, and for that, there would have been an inventory available would be the functional requirement. The last one I mentioned was user requirement to request a specific pickup time, and that would be to order specifications are created and available, and the functional requirement from that would have been that we are able to place a cafeteria order. I hope this is what you're looking for, and sorry if you can hear my son in the background. He's home with me right now. And yes, have a good day. Thank you.